Number 10, Cosmic Baby, or Uni Baby, or Uni Power Baby, or just May Parker if you want. Because you know, all of Peter and MJ's babies have to either be a May or a Ben. Mary Jane's family, I guess, is just so much of a disappointment that she does not feel inclined to name babies after them. I mean, her family life was pretty wild, so like I kinda understand why she's just cool naming kids after Peter's aunt and uncle, but MJ also had a pretty cool aunt, Aunt Anna, so I feel like there should actually be more multiversal kids named after her too. Anyways, the reason why I'm focusing so much on the name here is because we don't actually know much more than that when it comes to this baby. Baby May hails from a what-if story where Peter keeps the Unipower instead of giving it up, or the Enigma Force if you will. Even in this story though, he does eventually give it up, he just keeps it a lot longer. It's also implied that because he had it so long, it gets passed on to his and MJ's baby daughter, May Parker. So even though she isn't there yet, this alternate baby has some of the greatest potential when it comes to power levels. Number 9, Benji. Benji is the little brother of May Parker and the youngest child of the Parker family in the MC2 universe of Earth 982. Benji actually began to display powers at a very young age, and as such was basically a superpowered little baby. Ben would become bonded to the Carnage symbiote when he was still a little tyke, but fortunately his sister May Parker saved him using a sonic weapon to separate him from the Carnage symbiote. Unfortunately, this also caused damage to Ben's very sensitive baby ears, which left him deaf for a time. I actually think that that whole element of this story was really interesting, and I think it would have been cool to see Benji grow up deaf and even still become a superhero like his sister and his dad before him. However, he would later have his hearing restored by May's good friend Normie Osborn, the grandson of Green Goblin and son of Harry Osborn and Liz Allen Osborn. Benji has displayed spider-like abilities including wall crawling, spider sense, and even the rare ability to generate organic webbing. And friends, before we move on to our next spot, if you are loving this list and you are loving the channel, be sure to head on over to Facebook to show your support for us over there. Number 8, Claire Parker. Claire Parker is the daughter of Peter Parker and Mary Jane Parker, who hails from the reality belonging to Spider-Man life story, known as Earth 19529. Here, Claire proves to be strong enough to defeat Morlun when he returns and begins to hunt down Peter and his family, killing her own Uncle Ben Riley. Peter attempted to lure Morlun away from his kids, but was unsuccessful, and it came down to Claire and her brother Benji to defeat Morlun, which of course they did. Claire would go on to become a superhero in the next generation of heroes following her dad's time and era. Number 7, Spider-Boy. Spider-Boy hails from Earth 8, where Gwen Stacy and Miles Morales end up together. They have 2 children as a couple, and Max of course is one of them. Max's power is similar to his parents but does not possess any spider sense capabilities. He took up the name Spider-Boy when he joined up with the Amazing 8, a team of multiversal spider-like heroes. Max isn't alone on the team, which not only features characters outside of his universe, but also includes both his mom and his dad, Gwen and Miles of Earth 8, and of course his sister. Number 6, Spider-Girl. Spider-Girl is also the daughter of Miles Morales and Gwen Stacy on Earth 8. Her name is Charlotte, and she is also, of course, the sister of Maximilian Max Morales Stacy. While Max does not possess spider sense, Spider-Girl does, as well as a myriad of other spider-like abilities similar to her parents. Spider-Girl, along with her brother and the rest of her family, is also a member of the Amazing 8 team. The Watchers are wary of her and her brother as they fear the siblings' multiversal adventures pose a great risk to the timeline, which honestly, fair enough. Multiversal shenanigans, I feel like, are always posing great risks to the timeline.
Halfway through into number 5, Groot. Okay, so this is a pretty weird one, I have to admit. But technically speaking, baby Groot is the offspring of Groot. And while yes, he is also just Groot, baby and teen Groot are younger versions of Groot, and that's basically what a child is. Just a younger version of yourself. And while this may have been a asexually produced offspring, so what? This counts in my book. And while you may consider Groot a guardian of the galaxy and not an Avenger, he served as an Avenger for a time in both the comics and in the MCU. So you can back off, boy, okay? This is a very meta number, I know, but we've included clones on lists like these before. This is close enough, it's fine with me. Kids are basically clones, we've talked about actual clones, so deal with it. And at 4, Sarah Rogers. In an alternate world where the heroes and villains assembled for the Secret Wars never left Battleworld, the location of the conflict, the combatants called a truce and settled down to raise families. Sarah Rogers was actually the daughter of Steve Rogers, Captain America, and the X-Men Rogue. In this reality, Rogue was referred to as Carol, indicating that the stolen psyche of the Avenger Carol Danvers was in control of Rogue's body, and given Sarah's existence, had learned to control Rogue's powers enough to conceive a child. Malefactor Vincent Von Doom, the son of Dr. Doom, tried to take over the Battleworld and return to Earth, in order to follow in his father's footsteps and conquer it, because of course. But Sarah led her fellow young heroes to stop Vincent, and along the way grabbed Mjolnir, proving her worthiness to wield the enchanted hammer. So, as a kid, yeah, you're on the list, don't worry. And at 3, Hulk Gang. The Hulk Gang is a gang of hillbilly Hulks who are the result of Hulk impregnating his first cousin's She-Hulk, though not willingly, might I add. Most of the Hulk Gang members though are grandchildren of Bruce Banner, who have become run-of-the-mill thugs, beating or killing people when they don't pay their rent on time. When the Hulk Gang found Logan and he didn't have his money to pay the rent for his farm, its members Bobby Joe, Charlie, and Otis Banner paid a visit to him and punished him for missing a payment. Shortly before leaving though, they said that he had to pay double next month, otherwise they would kill him and his family. However, while Logan was away delivering a package with Hawkeye to get the money that he actually owed them, the Hulk Gang got bored and murdered his family. Once Logan returned home and learned about what happened in his absence from his neighbor Abraham, he went after the Hulk Gang and killed all of the members that he actually encountered, including Bobby Joe, Charlie, Otis, Rufus, Woody, Beau, Elrod, Eustace, and Luke Banner. So attaboy Logan. But ultimately, in at number 2, Vivian Vision. Viv was a synthezoid created by the Vision in his process to humanize himself through the creation of a family. The brainwaves of Viv and her twin brother Vin come from the combination of the brain patterns of Vision and Virginia, Viv and Vin's mother and Vision's wife. The Visions moved to Arlington, Virginia in order to facilitate Vision becoming the Avengers White House liaison, but I also kind of find that funny. Vision, Virginia, Viv, and Vin moved to Virginia. Come on. The family though became instant celebrities with their neighbors, constantly seeking pictures and then them posting them online. This caught the attention of Eric Williams, who became upset that Vision would create a family that appeared to be happy when the Williams family wasn't, which, I mean, like, what? That's like getting mad at an Instagram model for faking her life. As well as the fact that the Vision's brainwaves were taken from his brother Simon in the first place. Both Viv and Finn attended school at the Alexander Hamilton High School in Fairfax, but they were assigned different schedules to help them assimilate with their classmates. Considering how I previously said that Ultron assimilated a whole load of robots, you kinda have to admit the word assimilate their classmates is kinda setting off a few red flags here. And finally, in at number 1, Lyra. The daughter of Thundra, the Empress of the United Sisterhood, and the Incredible Hulk on Earth 8009, Lyra was gifted with the strength of her parents and trained as an elite warrior for the Sisterhood in their fight against men. But, unlike the other Gamma mutants, Lyra secretly grew weaker the angrier she got. Lyra was called by the Gynosure to head a secret mission, one not even her select band of warrior compatriots were aware of. The Sisterhood's cradle was malfunctioning, causing defective births, and without a replacement circuitry, it would be the end of the Sisterhood's ability to replenish their numbers, eventually leading to their extinction. Lyra was armed with Boudica, a wristwatch with an artificial intelligence linked to both the Sisterhood and Gynosure at all times, and sent to the men's cradle to steal the appropriate parts to repair their own cradle. When a traitor turned on Lyra at the request of the Gynosure, the replacement parts were destroyed in their fight. Lyra returned to Gynosure to confront her for her treachery, but was then sent to Earth 616 to seek out the great Norman Osborn and breed with him. Man, Norman Osborn, man. Every time.
Coming in at number 10, we have Behemoth, an evil clone of the Hulk. Created through the scheming of the villainous Master of the World, an enlightened caveman of a villain who usually fights against the Canadian superhero team Alpha Flight, this clone was named Behemoth when he was sent along with several other cloned heroes to fight the Heroes for Hire. And while any clone of the Incredible Hulk is obviously going to be a bit intimidating, this clone luckily wasn't long for this world, surviving just a single issue before the Heroes for Hire defeated him by blowing up the entire island they were fighting on. Then again, if you're fighting the Hulk, that's probably the least messy ending you're likely to get. Coming in at number 9, we have Daydream. Now, this entry might be more of an honorable mention, as it's a bit unclear if Daydream was genetically tied to Bruce Banner at all, or just Betty Ross, but either way, she's definitely one of the weirdest daughters someone could have. Created by combining the mental energies of both Betty Ross and the Marvel villain known as Nightmare, Daydream is half human and half dream entity, capable of teleporting at will and reshaping the dreams and mental state of anyone around her, including the Incredible Hulk. Coming in at number 8, we have another technical Hulk daughter with Carmilla Black, aka the New Scorpion. A genetically engineered human created from the genetic material of Monica Rappaccini, the scientist supreme of AIM, and Bruce Banner. Carmilla has a scorpion stinger connected to her arm and a natural immunity to every poison in the world. While best known for serving with S.H.I.E.L.D. after discovering her origins were connected to the evil AIM, Carmilla has served with several different teams over the course of her career, and even if she might not be aware that she has some of Bruce Banner's DNA within her, she definitely is a green fighter the Hulk could be proud of. Coming in at number 7, we have the Incredible Claw. And just in case you can't tell from the text on screen, yes, that's just the Hulk spelled backwards. Created by the psychic villain Xemnu to be a superior clone to the original Grey Hulk, Claw was far more intelligent than the usual Grey Hulk persona, at the cost of him being slightly less powerful than his original inspiration. Claw was nearly able to kill both the Green and the Red Hulk with the help of Xemnu, but was eventually defeated whenever the hero Impossible Man combined both Red and Green Hulks into the Compound Hulk, a more powerful gamma creature that was able to put down Claw for good. Don't you just love a totally normal and not weird at all comic book ending? Coming in at number 6, we have Hero Kala. An infant son that the Hulk thought he had lost during the destruction of the planet Skaar, Hero spent many years wandering the galaxy after he survived the explosion due to his mother's cocoon. Embracing the heritage of his mother's people, Hero converted their religion's old power into a new power by merging his psychic abilities with that of Galactus's power cosmic. While not green-skinned or as strong as his father, Hero Kala has continued to try and lead the Sakaaran people and find them a new suitable home amongst the stars.
Halfway through in at number 5, Valeria Richards. Valeria Richards is the second son of Dr. Reed Richards, aka Mr. Fantastic, and Susan Richards, aka the Invisible Woman, who did serve as Avengers for a couple missions. Due to her parents being exposed to cosmic radiation and being conceived in the negative zone, it caused her birth to be traumatic. But thanks to her uncle, Dr. Doom, he saved her life using a combination of science and magic. She was born a standard human and developed a genius-level intellect like her father. But as an unborn infant, when she was approaching term, she began to emit bursts of deadly radiation that threatened both her and her mother. Despite bringing in fellow scientists and radiation experts like Bruce Banner, Michael Morbius, and Otto Octavius, Reed Richards was unable to save his daughter, who appeared to be stillborn. Appearances can be deceiving though. Franklin Richards, the couple's first child, felt a deep loss over his sister because, you know, he didn't have a sister anymore. Unconsciously though, he secretly used his psionic powers to transport this daughter to an alternate reality. After Franklin's cosmic powers were depleted during a battle to save all reality, Valeria reverted to an unborn child within Sue's womb. So all of a sudden, she was pregnant with Valeria again. Yeah, Sue then came to term, but again her life was threatened by bursts of radiation from the child. However, this time Johnny Storm enlisted the aid of Dr. Doom, who was able to save her, but not without a price. And at 4, Modi Thorson. In the Ultimate Universe of Earth 1610, when Thor traveled to Valhalla to retrieve the soul of Valkyrie, Hela appeared and told him if he managed to defeat her army that she would revive Valkyrie, but for a price. Thor remained in Valhalla once Valkyrie was revived, but when he requested to be sent back to Earth, Hela once again agreed, but for a price. This time though, it was a child. Thor agreed. Well, meanwhile on Earth, Amora showed Valkyrie a vision of Thor and Hela making love. Valkyrie didn't realize that he had to do it though, to get back to Earth, but whatever. Thor, after the deed, asked to be sent back to Earth, but Hela requested another price. In a rage, Thor drew his sword and was going to kill Hela before seeing that she was already pregnant. The child, named Modi, eventually joined with the Children of Tomorrow, and when the Children of Tomorrow invaded Asgard, Thor locked Modi in a room without doors to keep him safe, and gave him Mjolnir so that when he was worthy, he would have a way out. Weeks later, but in that room it was years, and after the children had destroyed Washington, an adult Modi broke free of the room, with Mjolnir in his hand. Disguised as the mysterious Mr. Moraz, Modi attempted to usher in another American Civil War by supporting various warring factions in America in order to destroy the country and create a new Asgard from its ashes. He eventually was killed by Thor after using the Mind Stone to control Thor's mind and siding with Hydra, so yeah, not a good kid overall, but still pretty damn powerful. In at 3, Red She-Hulk. A mysterious female version of Red Hulk first appeared when the Red Hulk had gathered a team of mercenaries to hunt down Domino. After this group, called Code Red, not sponsored by Mountain Dew, found Domino, Wolverine slashed his claws across Red Hulk's face, blinding him until his healing factor restored his eyesight. Wolverine was about to deliver the killing blow to Red Hulk when Red She-Hulk appeared, blindsiding him. Red She-Hulk protected Red Hulk long enough in challenging Wolverine. However, just as Red Hulk began to trust Red She-Hulk, she double-crossed him and plunged Elektra's stolen Psy into his neck. Code Red were gathered in the sewers and awaited orders from Samson. Their encounter ended with Red She-Hulk kicking Red Hulk off the Empire State Building. She was then captured by Hank Pym, but her identity was finally revealed when she was stabbed with a sword by Skaar and reverted to her human form, revealing her to be Betty, Thaddeus Ross, aka Red Hulk's daughter. And Red She-Hulk has gone toe-to-toe with Hulk in a battle that resulted in both of them dying before being brought back by a wish that Hulk had made earlier. So yeah, pretty powerful. See, I know if someone has tussled with the Hulk to put him higher on this list now, since y'all can't let go. But ultimately, and at number 2, Skaar. Skaar was the progeny of Hulk and Sierra the Old Strong. After Sierra's death, I'm sorry if I'm saying that wrong, a cocoon containing Skaar fell into the Lake of Fire. After a period of time, Skaar emerged from this cocoon, appearing to be the age of a human boy. A year later, he appeared to have grown into a young adult, and spent time in the swamps with Old Sam, who attempted to raise, teach, and guide him after he discovered him shortly after the Shadow People burned tattoos into his skin. It took Old Sam months to get him to wear a loincloth and speak, although to be fair, it would have also taken him a few months to get me to wear a loincloth. As the son of the Hulk though, Skaar presumably possesses the capacity for vast, if not limitless levels of physical strength among other capabilities, ones which are either fueled by intense anger like his father or via channeling the old power. Once having absorbed 100 trillion tons of kinetic energy from a city to fight the Hulk, he sent Juggernaut flying into space with ease, punching beings miles away, just a lot. And not only that, but thanks to his mother, Skaar also possesses the powers of the Shadow People, known as the Old Power, which allows him to connect to and manipulate the planet's energies, basically giving him lava and earthbending skills. Finally, in at number 1, Franklin Richards. Franklin Richards is the son of Reed and Sue Richards of the world-renowned Fantastic Four, who, like I said, were at one point working alongside the Avengers, and who were deemed Avengers for a couple missions, so I'm counting it. Basically, the frickin' Celestials have deemed this kid to be beyond Omega level on the scale of mutant-based powers, so yeah. A future version of Franklin came back to our present and managed to bend Galactus to his will, making Galactus Franklin's herald, which I think speaks for itself. This kid is able to tear the universe apart with a single thought, probably making him the scariest damn toddler on the face of this planet. And that's coming from someone who already thinks toddlers are scary, okay? You should have seen that one kid who tried to stab me with safety scissors. It was certainly an interesting Tuesday afternoon. And in the book History of the Marvel Universe, Franklin Richards is revealed to apparently survive the end of his universe and pass on to the next one, like Galactus did, which is freaking insane.
Number 10, Amora and Thor hybrid clones. One of the only children, if you want to call them that Thor actually has in the main continuity were actually genetically engineered by a man named Price, who was a scientist. A mad scientist, I would say. A scientist who ate one too many mushrooms and then had a vision of Yggdrasil. Because of his vision, he believed that after Ragnarok, a new superior race of beings would come into existence, and after getting genetic samples from both Amora and Thor, created clones of those two people together, who for some reason were all male, but anyways. They had no individual names, but were simply known as Price's clones. He created them to help him build the world engine, which would usher in the new superior race meant to come into existence following Ragnarok, as per Price's vision. There is also a lot of romantic tension in this story between Thor and Amora, where they both end up confronting Price and his creations. Also, all of them are bald, which I feel like if they're Thor and Amora clones, I feel like they should have lots of hair. In my mind. Both of those people got lots of hair. Number 9, Modi the Angry. This Modi is the son of a past version of Thor, so not the Thor that we know from 616, but technically this Modi would be from 616. He is one of the few survivors of a past Ragnarok event. The Eye of Odin tells main continuity Thor about this tale, showing him the Ragnarok that had happened and a past version of Thor's place in it. While this past version of Thor died in a fight against the serpent, he was survived by his 2 sons, one of which was Modi. We don't know much about Modi, we don't even seem to know who his mother was. Technically Modi is the son of a past Thor, but all versions of Thor's children are welcome on this list, so that's why we can count them. Especially as in the main continuity, Thor, like I said, doesn't really have kids, not even in the comics. A lot of them are alt kids from alternate realities. Modi has bright red hair and seems to be armed with daggers. While we don't know much, we do know he was strong enough to survive Ragnarok, which completely ravaged the Nether Realms, and that's pretty impressive. And friends, before we move on to this next spot, if you are loving this list and you are loving our channel, please head on over to our Facebook page where you can also show us your love by clicking that like and clicking that follow. Whoa, 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 whoa! Number 8. Magni the Stronger. This Magni is another son of past Thor who also makes his first appearance alongside his brother Modi in the original Thor series in issue 293. Where Modi is known as the Angry, Magni is known as the Strong. Throughout the various alternate universes we've seen, Magni would become a more preferred name as well for Thor's potential children. Well, one of the preferred names. There's a couple. Whether it be a past version of Thor or possibly a future version of Thor, Magni is a name that we will see again. Like Modi, Magni also is one of the few to survive Ragnarok despite the destruction of the Nether Realms, which, as I said, is pretty dang impressive because, yeah, Ragnarok usually kills everybody. Also, Magni and Modi both prove together in the following issue that they are both strong enough of will to resist the temptation to use their father's hammer Mjolnir to rule over the other surviving Asgardians, and that they are strong enough of might to hurl it away from them, all the way through space and down to Midgard with a single mighty toss. It's a joint toss, but still, that's pretty impressive to me. That's a far throw. Number 7. Torunn Thorsdottir. Torunn Thorsdottir is the daughter of Sif and Thor, who hails from the alternate future that we see in the animated series Next Avengers Heroes of Tomorrow. In this reality, Torunn and the other young surviving heroes were kept safe by Iron Man and aided additionally by Hulk and Vision when it came to their battles and their training as young heroes. Young Avengers. Not Young Avengers though, Next Avengers. Young Avengers is a different thing. Torunn was basically sent to Midgard by her parents to learn the same lesson that Odin had sought to teach Thor by sending him away. She has all the powers of an Asgardian, being the daughter of Thor and Sif, and also seems to have lightning and thunder powers similar to her father. Number 6. Thina Thorsdottir. Thina hails from the MC2 reality of Earth 982. Here Thina is the daughter of Thor, although mysteriously we do not know who her mother is, which seems to be a recurring theme in a lot of Thor's kids. She ends up chasing down her cousin Silene, daughter of Loki, to attempt to stop her evil plot from succeeding and to rescue Kevin Masterson, son of Thunderstrike, aka Eric Masterson, whom Silene had kidnapped. In the process, she runs into the New Avengers, also known via the comics as the Avengers Next Team, after a quick fight due to a misunderstanding. Thina would join with the Avengers, continuing to pursue Silene and successfully defeating her and rescuing Kevin in the end with their help. Thina is similar to Torunn in terms of her capabilities, but is more experienced, so she ranks a little higher for that reason. At least she seems more experienced to me. It's my opinion.
Number 5. Ultimate Red Skull. In the Ultimate Universe, Steve Rogers and girlfriend at the time, Gail Richards, end up having a little one-night get-together in 1945 before he went and got himself popsicled. 9 months later, out popped a baby that the government decided needed to be kept a secret. They took the boy into foster care on a military base, training him to become a super soldier to replace the supposedly deceased Captain America. He soon became stronger and more tactically skillful than his father, and by all intents and purposes, seemed like the perfect compliant soldier. But to our surprise, Rogers' son had been carefully planning his escape and was biding his time. Fast forward to 1963, when he was finally at the age of 17, the son went on a spree, de-lifing all the doctors and soldiers at his facility. He also used the kitchen knife to carve the skin from his head, literally becoming the bloody Red Skull. In rebellion against the system that created him, Red Skull was the one who planned President John F. Kennedy's send-off to the grave. He becomes an assassin and tries to eventually steal Reed Richards' plans for the Cosmic Cube in order to use it to change history so he could grow up with his father. And now I'm really sad and this sucks. Number 4. Virginia Dare. I'm openly going to be cheating for this point. You'll have to forgive me because I ain't going back now. While Virginia Dare is not at all in any shape or form the daughter of Steve Rogers, on Earth 311, the Earth of Marvel 1602, she is the first child born in the Americas, aka the New World, and the time-displaced Rogers takes her under his wing in a way. Virginia has the ability to transform into any animal she wants, which is arguably a very powerful as well as versatile power. Rogers accompanies her across the ocean and to visit the Queen of England. He is her protector and he confides in her about his true origins, so they share a bond that's maybe a bit more comparable to a brother and a sister. But as he is inspired by the core values that he believes symbolize America, and she's the first child of America, his will to protect and guide her is strong enough that I think she deserves a spot here. Number 3. Sharon Rogers. This offspring of Captain America actually comes from Marvel Future Fight, therefore making it a little difficult to judge her level of power. But as for her backstory, well, in an alternate universe where Captain America was never frozen in ice at the end of World War II, Steve Rogers and Peggy Carter celebrated V-Day with a private marriage ceremony. In not too much time at all after the couple's honeymoon, when Peggy was assigned to South Korea, the couple welcomed the birth of their daughter, Sharon. Following in her heroic parents' footsteps, Sharon soon became an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. herself and eventually took over the role of Captain America. Tony Stark presented her with an awesome looking heavy duty but lightweight Starlight armor, alongside a new energy absorbing shield and a new weapon, the Blaster Lance. She looks wild and totally awesome, and I'm assuming is on par with her father ability wise, but with the obvious technological equipment. Number 2. Ian Rogers. An adopted test tube baby created by Arnim Zola in Dimension Z, Ian Rogers, or Nomad, was taken by Steve Rogers and was raised for 10 years by him in Dimension Z until he was thought to be accidentally taken out by Sharon Carter. But he actually lived and was raised further by Sharon while Steve was back in the real world. Being trained by Cap, Ian was exceedingly useful in combat and even with using a shield like his father's. But he was also born with above peak human levels of physical and mental abilities, like enhanced strength, speed, intellect, and longevity, as well as accelerated healing thanks to the biogel Zola made him with. As long as he has a supply of the gel within his armor, his body will always fix itself. And that's pretty cool. He had a really awesome leading part in the Secret Wars story Hail Hydra from 2015. He once wielded the shield of Cap but now uses the Horde Crusher, which is a big old staff made by Arnim Zola. He's awesome. Check him out. And number 1. Sarah Rogers. In What If number 114 from September of 1998, we get a story of what would happen if the heroes who were transported to Battle World in Secret Wars actually just stayed there. And well, they make babies. Sarah Rogers was the daughter of Steve Rogers, Captain America, and the X-Man Rogue. Now Rogue's body has actually been taken over by Carol Danvers in this story, who gained enough control over Rogue's powers for Sarah to actually exist, because, you know, Rogue can't do the whole physical touch thing. Her powers are pretty basic, with superhuman strength and durability, as well as the power of flight. But she permanently borrows the shield of her father, and it turns out she's actually worthy of wielding the hammer of Thor. It's great. During a fight with the son of Dr. Doom, who is trying to return to Earth and conquer it, Sarah, like most of these descended from the Captain, becomes a natural leader and helps inspire the other teen heroes. She is very powerful and she is very cool.
And at 10, Ian Rogers. When Steve Rogers got trapped in Dimension Z, he rescued a baby boy while he was trapped there. Since time moves faster in that dimension though, he ended up raising the boy for over 10 years. Sharon Carter ended up raising him for the remainder of his childhood when she was also trapped in Dimension Z after going there to rescue Steve. The boy was the son of Arnim Zola, but he saw Steve Rogers and Sharon Carter as his parents. His birth name was Leopold Zola, but he goes by Ian Rogers now, the name that his true father gave him. By the time he left Dimension Z, Ian was a full-grown adult. He then took on the name Nomad and partnered with Sam Wilson. And at 9, Francis Barton. On Earth 555326, also known as the Next Avengers Heroes of Tomorrow universe, Francis Barton was Clint Barton's son, who raised him to be a hero and helped the rebels known as the Scavengers, and Francis led them around Machine City after his father's death. When the children of the other deceased Avengers, James Rogers, Torunn, Hank Pym Jr., and Azari, arrived, he saved them from Ultron's forces, and James and his siblings followed Francis and the Scavengers to their home base. He told them that he was the surviving son of the original Hawkeye. Then Francis became infuriated when he realized that he wasn't the last Avenger, and angrily wondered the whereabouts of the others during his time of desperate survival. James reasoned that they didn't know of his existence, much like their fathers did, and James, the son of Captain America, and Francis often argued. At first he seemed cold and indifferent to his new friends, but as time passed, he showed himself to be just as much of a jokester and a flirt as Clint ever was. Which is kinda weird because they're kids. And it ate Scotty Summers. After the Earth was destroyed by a Celestial, survivors moved into another planet. Here, Havoc and Wasp get married and have a child, Catherine Summers. However, she was born a human, not a mutant, and thus would be subjected to persecution in an all-mutant world. Consequently, her existence was kept secret to only her parents and her godfather Hank McCoy. Years later, Kang appeared and forced Havoc to follow his plan by taking Katie away. Given her connection to the alpha-level mutant Havoc though, if they ever decided to retcon Katie, we can guess that at some point she'd develop a similar power set to Havoc. So if they ever decide to retcon her, she'll be pretty powerful. Havoc absorbs ambient cosmic energy into his cells of his body and processes it into plasma. This results in control over an extremely powerful sort of destructive force. And at times he's not entirely able to control this ability, which sometimes makes him a danger to those around him unless he wears a special containment suit to assist him. Havoc's body is also constantly in the process of absorbing cosmic radiation, so he can basically do it whenever. And given that superhero kids are usually more powerful than their parents, if they ever decide to retcon her, this is gonna be scary, okay? Look, I know that she's a human, but sometimes humans are the most powerful beings. She's also number 8, so chill. And at 7, Azari T'Challa. Azari is the son of Black Panther and Storm. He was taken to safety by Iron Man along with James Rogers, Torunn, and Henry Pym Jr. to keep them all safe from Ultron. Azari, along with his other siblings, only knew of the Avengers through Tony's tales of their former glory days. And as the son of the Black Panther and Storm, Azari inherited their powers and abilities of the heart-shaped herb from his father, enhanced speed, agility, strength, endurance, healing, and senses. He also inherited the powers and abilities of electrokinesis from his mother. One day while he was playing hide and seek with Pym, the Vision arrived at the refuge. Tony tells everyone to wait in James's room until he tells them otherwise. While Azari is fine with waiting, the others aren't, and he fails at convincing them to wait as Tony instructed. When he failed, he and his siblings found a secret entrance to a repair bay under their parents' grave markers. As they searched, they found a room full of Iron Man-style robots who resembled each of their parents. While James and Torunn lingered, Azari and Pym kept moving and managed to find Tony and the strange robot, which is actually the Vision. And then all the Avenger robots end up waking up, and then they go to fight Ultron as their programming intended, so then there's a whole kerfuffle. That's when they meet Francis Barton. And it's 6, Torunn. On Earth 555326, Torunn was the daughter of Thor and Sif. Torunn was taken to safety by Tony Stark alongside the other children to keep them safe from Ultron, and Torunn, like the others, only knew of the Avengers through Tony's stories. She could oftentimes be both arrogant and prideful, but I mean, so could her father. But she has become humble through the learning and of the coping with her mortality, because she is actually immortal. After the arrival of the Vision, Torunn and her siblings got too curious for their own good and revealed the secret entrance, which I just explained. While with James, she found the Iron Avengers, and then they accidentally activated their robots, and their automatic programming sent them to intercept Ultron, in which the Iron Avengers attacked. But the Iron Avengers were assimilated by Ultron, so that's gonna be fun. Look, she may not be the sharpest tool in the shed, but at least she's powerful. She's Thor's daughter.
Number 5, Sleeper. Sleeper is the sibling of Dylan and also the 7th symbiote baby of Venom. They are most definitely thought of as Dylan's sibling, as the challenging pregnancy that Venom went through to give birth to Sleeper was not something carried entirely alone. In fact, Eddie even helped directly with this birth, and it was perhaps one of the first pregnancies that was more openly discussed with Eddie, Venom's partner. Eventually at least. And of course in comparison to the other symbiote babies that Venom has had while with Eddie, which I feel like Venom normally didn't even talk about at all, especially with Carnage. Carnage was like, what? And then later Eddie was like, what was that? And I was like, oh, I had a baby, whatever. Sleeper seems to be autonomous and doesn't specifically need a host, unlike some other symbiotes, especially in those early comic book days. I mean, back in the day, Venom was like, if I don't have a host, I'm literally gonna die. In this way, Sleeper is more of a giver, where their host would benefit more from their bond as opposed to the other way around. Sleeper boosts the abilities of its host and provides the additional power of producing various chemicals, some of which can be used to influence the emotional response of enemies, bending them to their will, making them sleepy, making them less aware so Sleeper can like sneak around more easily. Lots of cool stuff. And technically Sleeper can also kind of use those chemicals to like get a little bit of telepathy going on, which is pretty cool. Number 4, Carnage. Definitely one of the most powerful children of Venom out there, and one that we can't have a list without would be Carnage. Carnage is much more ruthless than Venom and much more prone to violence, though this is likely because of the influence of this symbiote's first and main host, and often their chosen host to this day, Cletus Cassidy, notorious serial killer. Carnage has proven to be so powerful that on countless occasions it's required both Spider-Man and Venom, and oftentimes a whole assembly of other superpowered beings to put a stop to them. Even when others think they can somehow control Carnage, the symbiote has proven to be unstoppable and much too much to handle in most cases. Not only that, but even when Carnage turns to the side of good during the events of Axis, they still prove to be super deadly due to how deranged they are. Even when Carnage was like, I'm gonna be a hero, it was a rough time. Cletus Cassidy inside was like, I don't really know how to be a hero. Do we still kill people? Can I still chop this person up? I like them. I want to chop them up. Number 3, Toxin. Toxin isn't specifically a child of Venom, but is more their grandchild, I suppose. Toxin is an offspring of Carnage, but is believed to be even more powerful than both Carnage and Venom combined. Toxin has all the powers of Carnage, but is believed to be stronger. Additionally, it is said that they have a more strong resistance to heat and sonic waves, making them a tougher opponent in most cases. While Toxin definitely has a dark side, they can also be reined in, which is what their first host, Patrick Mulligan, tried to focus on helping them with, mentoring them and trying to help them learn how to become a hero. So despite Toxin coming from Carnage, they're not inherently bad, though they definitely do have a little bit of a Carnage streak running through them. That's what happens when you're Carnage's child, I guess. Number 2, Silence. Silence was actually what came out of Scream's death. Andy Benton bonded with Silence, believing the symbiote at first to be Scream. In reality, Silence was made out of Scream's remains combined with anti-venom, making it much more powerful in theory than Scream. Technically, it is not a direct child of Venom, but it was made out of the remains of Venom's child Scream, and Venom's sibling, in a sense, anti-venom, known for being one of the most powerful symbiotes around. So because of this, I'm gonna count it as a relative slash offspring of sorts, albeit a very weird, very comic book complicated one. I mean, it's kind of like a clone of Venom's child, but then also like kind of part Venom's sibling, so yeah, I don't know. Number 1, Codex. This is technically an alternate future version of Dylan where he becomes a version of the King in Black instead of his dad. Well, at least a version of that on Earth. We meet this version of the character in Venom in the arc prior to the King in Black event. Dylan and Eddie of Earth 616 must team up in order to defeat this alternate god mode version of Dylan, who has become ruler of Earth, creating his own hive mind of symbiotes there that he himself controls. Now, if you thought Null was scary, then you would probably also really love this story featuring Dylan of Earth 1051, known at first as Codex. This version of Dylan would fall under the influence of Null, which was ultimately what turned him dark. Dylan of Earth 616 and his father would help to break the influence Null had over Codex, only for him to fall into a coma and then later be pursued and bonded with by Carnage. Dylan as Carnage in this reality made him even more terrifying than he'd been as Codex.
And at 10, Ultron 1320. Ultron 1320 comes to us from Earth 14622 and What If Age of Ultron number 1, an Earth where thanks to Wasp dying, Ultron is able to take over the world faster. Ultron was created to be the ultimate AI by Hank Pym to help the Avengers utilize their function better as a team. But with the untimely death of Pym's wife, Pym went on to create a more brutal version of Ultron, which was to replace the Avengers, which makes him technically the son of Hank Pym. So he's viable for this list, okay? But since he's a robot, I'm putting him at the top, don't worry, that's why he's here. But with this, Ultron's sentience began to constantly evolve, and he started the eradication of the human race by taking out such threats as the Avengers and the Defenders while he left Pym alive to just watch everyone suffer. Ultron and his army of Ultron Sentinels then moved to Kola, Russia, so he could bore himself into the planet's core to create the ultimate version of himself, Ultron 1320. Ultron then had his minions batter and beat Pym unconscious until he woke up to find himself turned into Ultron 1321. This version also invaded other worlds, claiming Earth 62412, 23223, and 81223, but before being stopped on Earth 45162. That's a lot of numbers. And at 9, Wiccan. Billy Kaplan, also known by his superhero aliases Asgardian and Wiccan, is a superpowered warlock and the reincarnated son of the Scarlet Witch. He has spent time on numerous superhero teams including the Young Avengers and the New Avengers, and after Wiccan's powers overloaded during a battle with the Sons of the Serpent, the Avengers decided to keep him under observation. Hulkling and the other Young Avengers broke Wiccan out of holding and began to search for the Scarlet Witch. Accompanied by Magneto and Quicksilver, the team traveled to Transia and then to Latveria before discovering a depowered and amnesiac Wanda engaged to Doctor Doom. The rediscovery of Wanda did not go unnoticed though, as the Avengers soon arrived on the scene. Iron Lad teleported the Young Avengers and Wanda into the time stream, and they all went into the past and met a reanimated Jack of Hearts who was about to explode. After that, Wanda remembered who she was, regained her powers, and returned herself, the Young Avengers, and Scott Lang to the present. She then finally confirmed that Billy and Tommy were indeed her reincarnated sons, a story that seemingly will be adapted into the MCU come Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. In at 8, Hulkling. Teddy was one of the first people in the Avengers failsafe program, compiled by the Vision to be used as a form of new team of superheroes in the event of the destruction or the disbandment of the Avengers. Iron Lad, a younger version of Kang the Conqueror, found Teddy using the Vision's failsafe program and requested his help in preventing his future self from returning to the future. Teddy joined the Young Avengers and adopted the superhero identity of the Hulkling, despite actually being the son of Captain Marvel. He only took on the Hulkling identity to help keep in the theme of the Young Avengers being new versions of the original Avengers, using his powers to change his skin color to green. As well as these shape-shifting abilities comes the powers of flight, a healing factor, as well as superhuman stamina, durability, and strength. He also gains the ability of matter substitution when he and his husband Wiccan end up using their wedding rings together, which is kind of adorable, and goals. And at 7, Scotty Summers. Hailing from Earth 1298, Scotty is Alex Summers and Madeline Pryor's son. Scotty, as he came to be known, was born to the mutant superhero Havoc and his then girlfriend Madeline. Sometime after his birth, his mom and dad got married and they moved in with the reformed X-Factor. As a child, he showed no signs of exceptional power and enjoyed a normal life until the Inferno event. During Inferno, he was captured by a couple demons who planned to use him as a sacrifice to open up the world to the malevolent Goblin Force. Alone and afraid, he was rescued by his mother Madeline, who brokered a deal with the demons in exchange for her son's life. He returned home with her, and the demons and the nightmare it seemed were over. But when Havoc of Earth 616 wound up in his counterpart in the Mutant X's reality's dead body, Scott immediately recognized that this Havoc was not truly his father. This was the first hint at the scope of young Scotty's power. When his mother was possessed by the Goblin Queen, Scotty was also taken by his father and their nanny, the ninja assassin Elektra. The three became like a family themselves, and Scotty even bonded with his new father. Eventually, Scotty during the battle was captured along with Havoc by the evil entity, but he knew that he was in the right place at the right time, and incidentally knew exactly what to do to end the fight. With a simple touch, he managed to defeat the Goblin Queen, who was possessing his mother at the time. But yeah, it's pretty overpowered. I guess you could say that Scotty doesn't know about his powers. And at 6, Vision. The MCU Vision is in essence the son of Tony Stark, Bruce Banner, Ultron, and Thor, which is honestly a really weird combination. Or if you want to get more technical, I guess Thor and Ultron are closer to his parents, with like Tony and Bruce basically being his grandparents, aside from the whole using Jarvis to make Vision thing. So I guess technically, by that logic, Tony is also Vision's father and grandfather. What? Either way, powered by an advanced AI and the Mind Stone, Vision is probably one of the most powerful Avengers until he was killed in Infinity War at the hands of Wanda and then Thanos, which was a stupid idea as we saw thanks to Ultron Z's with Thanos in the What If series on Disney+, where using the Mind Stone, Ultron just literally tore Thanos in half, which is probably what Vision could have done, resulting in one of the most frustrating moments of the entire MCU to me. But oh well, what are you gonna do? But yeah, I think that with the Mind Stone, he is certainly powerful, but his reluctance to use it to kill Thanos puts him higher on the list, as well as, you know, the whole being mostly dead thing.
Coming in at number 5, we have the Nerd Hulk, an evil clone from the Ultimate Universe. Created from Bruce Banner's stem cells by the sociopathic brother of Tony Stark, Gregory, Nerd Hulk was intended to be the best of both worlds version of the Hulk, with all the strength and rage of his Gamma form combined with the intellect and restraint of Bruce Banner. However, this had the downside of making the Hulk actually afraid of combat despite his strength, and for a long time he was considered a bit of a laughingstock stock until by chance he was bitten by the Ultimate Universe's version of a vampire. This combination of a vampire's bloodlust and the Hulk's strength finally made the vampire nerd Hulk a worthy villain for the Ultimates, and was only able to be defeated when he was cleverly teleported across the world into sunlight by Captain America. Coming in at number 4, we have Beau Banner. In the alternate apocalyptic future that the Old Man Logan stories take place in, the Hulk name has fallen into ruin, as the Hulk Gang is a roaming band of cannibal hillbillies that are apparently the spawn of the Hulk and his own cousin, having gone insane after receiving too much additional radiation from this version of America's nuclear war. One of the leaders of this hillbilly gang is Beau Banner, who winds up killing Wolverine's family after they're late paying protection fees. And while Wolverine dispatches Beau in a gruesome use of C4 explosives, cannibal descendants of the Hulk are still a pretty nasty and powerful surprise to find in this dark alternate future. Coming in at number 3, we have Lyra from Earth 8009. Born from the genetic material of the Hulk and her mother Thundra, the leader of an alternate future in which a warrior clan of women have taken over the planet, Lyra was intended to be the perfect union of the strongest man and the strongest woman in existence. And while Lyra's gamma powers have the unfortunate setback of actually making her weaker as she gets angrier, Lyra still has one hell of a punch due to the combined genetics of her parents. Trained in combat with every sort of physical weaponry imaginable, Lyra has since become an ally and friend of Earth 616's She-Hulk and fights by her side as an occasional accomplice. Coming in at number 2, we have Bruce Banner Jr., the youngest child of the Hulk gang from the post-apocalyptic Old Man Logan future we introduced earlier in this list. Bruce Banner Jr. was first introduced as just an ugly Hulk baby, kinda looking a little bit like the Grinch. However, in a storyline set 500 years later, this Hulk baby has grown into a new, more heroic version of the Hulk villain Maestro, himself a completely different evil future version of Bruce Banner. Having overcome his horrific origins to become an intelligent and heroic leader, Bruce Banner Jr. would occasionally cross over into the main Marvel universe and is currently still looking for a new world to call his own. And finally, coming in at our top spot, we have Skaar, the son of the Incredible Hulk and the older brother of Hero Kala. The offspring of the Hulk and Sierra the Old Strong, Skaar's mother died so that he might live during the destruction of his planet, and eventually made his way back to Earth following in his father's footsteps. Calling himself the Killer of Killers, Skaar has all of the strength of his father combined with the stone and magma manipulating power of his mother, and has walked the line between hero and anti-hero often enough that he was even Steve Rogers' double agent whenever Norman Osborn had taken over the Dark Avengers. No matter what situation he finds himself in, Skaar will always be one of the strongest gamma beings in the entire Marvel Universe.
Number 10. MCU kids. What? That's right. Thanks to the writers of Endgame, we know for certain that Captain America has 2 kids with none other than Peggy Carter. At the end of Endgame, Captain America decided to retire to the past and marry Peggy Carter, who he had been separated from for decades thanks to his years spent in the ice before being revived during the events of the first Avengers film. Peggy's husband was first referenced in the 2014 sequel to the first Captain America film, Captain America the Winter Soldier, in which an older Peggy mentions that she got married after the war and had 2 children. We now know that that husband actually was Steve himself, who had gone back in time, and those 2 mysterious children belonged to him. This kind of leaves us wondering, where were Captain America's super kids this whole time, and will they play a part in the Marvel Cinematic Universe in years to come? This has yet to be seen, but they will almost definitely play a part in the future of the MCU. Number 9. Jack Rogers. Jackson Jack Rogers is from the alternate future world of Earth TRN-858 and is Steve Rogers' great-great-grandson. He lives in a utopian society where the super soldier serum is used by hospitals to cure patients. The only problem is that for Jack's son, Steve, his body is rejecting the serum and having a negative effect. He goes to the president and asks for the secrets to the serum, but a Kree general rejects him. Turns out the Kree are actually using the serum to turn humans into a sleeper army. So once Jackson finds that out, a whole manhunt begins and he ends up allying, sorta, with the Red Skull. and using his ancestor's shield to fight against the Kree. Now it turns out his son actually has a recessive Kree gene, and the serum is actually harmful to the Kree, which Rogers uses to his advantage, finding the serum and stopping the Kree invaders with a bit of help from the Cosmic Q powered Red Skull. Now it's a really cool story, but Rogers is basically just a normal guy with a great lineage. Number 8. General America. Unfortunately, we don't know much about the great-grandson of Steven Rogers, as the story he was in, What If Captain America #1, was mainly about the Civil War hero. But from what I can tell, he seems to have the same kind of enhancements as his previous ancestors who took up the Captain America mantle. They were all blessed with an ancient power that gave them peak human conditioning and also, presumably, mystical protection from harm. Another point that I think just makes them a cut above is their constant battle with the white supremacist group known as the White Skulls. He himself is descended from the great Civil War era Captain America who fought the White Skull, saved President Lincoln and the Native American peoples, and even helped end the Civil War earlier than it normally would have. The Captain Americas are a lineage that will continue on as long as there is injustice to fight. Coming in at number 7, it's Ellie Rogers. The daughter of Steve Rogers and Sharon Carter, Ellie Rogers is a member of the Resistance in the really cool Secret Wars story of Hail Hydra from 2015. In the second issue, she meets up with Ian Rogers, Nomad, and after the Resistance is attacked by Venom, she gets infused with a Venom symbiote, gaining similar powers to those of Eddie Brock. Before this point though, she seems to just be a very healthy, regular person, even despite her father's super soldier status. She had given up on the dream of the Resistance after such a long time under the control of Hydra, but her brother, Nomad, inspired her to keep up the fight, and they got in a wee kerfuffle with the Hydra Avengers. She was taken out by her injuries. Number 6. James Rogers. With most of the heroes killed during a battle with Ultron and the world at the mercy of the villain's army, Captain America tells Iron Man to take the children of the Avengers to a base in the Arctic Circle to keep them safe. Here, Tony trains the kids for over 12 years until they become the new young Avengers. Among these children is the son of Captain America and Black Widow, James Rogers. As the son of 2 super soldiers, James possesses all the benefits of the super soldier serum: peak human strength, speed, durability, agility, stamina, and reflexes. He also becomes the natural leader of the group of young Avengers and has a natural gift for tactics and planning. So much so that it helped the team to defeat Ultron with the help of the Hulk.
Number 5. Torunn Thorsdottir. There are a few different Torunn Thorsdotters out there, but this one comes from the comics, just to be clear, so not from the animated series. In another alternate future, she is a member of the next Avengers. She makes her first appearance in Generations Iron Man and Ironheart issue number 1, and hails from the same reality where in the future of 2099, Iron Man would actually go on to become the Sorcerer Supreme. We know that Thor is Torunn's father, but do not explicitly know who her mother is. Once again, mysteries abound. Although if this Torunn is similar to the Torunn from the next Avengers animated series, then her mother is likely Sif. This Torunn appears older to me, and for that reason she ranks a little bit higher than her animated version and a little bit higher than the MC2 Thena. Although she likely isn't as popular or well known among Thor fans as her animated counterpart. I would assume, I don't know. If you know this Torunn better, you can let me know in the comments. Number 4. Modi. This is the Modi we talk about normally when we mention that name in conjunction with Thor's. He is the son of Thor and Hela, who in the reality of Earth 1610, also known as the Ultimate Universe, which he hails from, were not uncle and niece as they are in the main continuity of Earth 616 in the comics, and were not brother and sister either as they are known to be in the MCU reality of Earth 199999. Sometimes referred to cinematically as Earth 616, which is super confusing for us because, you know, 616 is the main comic book continuity, so what are we doing with that? Thor made a deal with Hela to give her a child so that he might once more return to Valkyrie's side on Earth. Eventually, he would be allowed to return to Earth, but only after Valkyrie had died. Modi was the son that would be born from this deal and would be gifted in magics and was capable of teleportation. He was also able to wield Mjolnir. Instead of being a hero like most of Thor's alt-reality kids, Modi tends to be more villain in the 1610 universe. Must be Hela's influence. Number 3. Woden Thorson. Woden Thorson is the son of Thor and Sif from the 31st century. In this alternate take on the future appearing in Guardians of the Galaxy and known as Earth 691, Woden would suffer initially from having an absent father. Thor could basically not give up adventuring, leaving Sif mainly alone to parent their son. It wasn't until Thor was forced to stay home by Odin that Woden became a potential quintessential heroic figure, learning from his father and actually taking pride in his heritage and his people as he learned more about them from Thor. Although why Sif wasn't able to instill this in Woden herself, also being a warrior from Asgard, I'm not really sure, but hey, sometimes I guess you just need your dad around, you know, that's fine. Thor would spend more and more time at the Mead Hall, prompting Woden to leave home. However, he would later return after Loki and his Inhuman army had taken over, and he returned to fight against his evil uncle. Loki would be defeated by Woden, who wielded Mjolnir in the battle, as while his father was no longer worthy to lift the hammer, Woden was. Number 2, Magni. This Magni is typically the one that we talk about when we are talking about the son of Thor, Magni. So usually when people say that, they're talking about this one. Like I said, there's a lot of repeating of names when it comes to alternate kids. It's great. It's a little confusing, but it's great. He hails from the alternate future reality of Earth 3515, which was erased from existence at the behest of Magni. The future Allfather Thor, who had Magni with his queen Amora, the Enchantress, ended up traveling back in time to warn his past self about everything that would come to pass should he rule over Midgard, which is also something that happened in this future and sent Thor down a pretty dark path. Thor of the present listened to the warning of his future self and heeded it, preventing this Magni from ever really existing. When he did exist though, Magni was considered to be similar to Thor in his abilities, but he was also believed to be even stronger physically than Thor had been, being known as the God of Strength. Magni was also capable of wielding Mjolnir in his lifetime. His short lifetime. R.I.P. Number 1, Starbrand. While not a child of his or Iron Man's loins, Brandy Selby became the adopted goddaughter of Thor in issue 32 of the 2018 Avengers series. He promised to take care of her after the Avengers, as he saw it, failed her mother, who died in childbirth. Thor especially felt bad as he had succumbed to being possessed by the Brood at that time, and really wasn't much help to the team when they came across the previous Starbrand, Suzanne, Brandy's mother, who went into labor. She gave birth to a healthy baby girl, but didn't survive the delivery herself. She passed on her Starbrand to her unnamed baby as she died, who was later named Brandy by the Avengers, who basically took Brandy in and kinda like did their best to raise her, Thor included. Kind of, I think, a pretty fun story. Lately, she's gone through a dramatic age up in the comics, which has also seen her come more into her own when it comes to controlling her power and tapping into its full potential. And if you didn't know, the Starbrand is pretty amazingly powerful when we're talking about cosmic power forces. It's pretty nuts. A lot Brandy could do with that for sure. A lot of harm, a lot of good. A lot of stuff. Number 10, Lasher. Lasher is one of the symbiotes that Venom was forced to give birth to by the Life Foundation, who kidnapped the symbiote in order to make Venom make more symbiotes for them. Which is really messed up and explains why the Venom symbiote was so apprehensive when it was pregnant following its experience with the Life Foundation. Each symbiote that it gave birth to with the Life Foundation seemed to have its own special powers, and Lasher's was that they could remote control from a distance a non-sentient host in addition to their main one, using this other host as a form of reconnaissance or like a scout, or simply to just be in 2 places at once, which is pretty cool. I've always wanted to be able to be in multiple places at once. I could get so many things done. Number 9, Dylan. Dylan might not initially seem like a child of Venom, but in a way he is. In fact, it's even been suggested that he might actually be a part of Venom, a piece of the symbiote broken off and molded into something new, or at the very least blended with something new. Venom was a genetic contributor at the time of Dylan's conception, as Anne Wang, his mother, was bonded with the Venom symbiote when she became pregnant with Dylan. Dylan is therefore kind of like Eddie's, Anne's, and Venom's child all together. Dylan initially demonstrated powers which allowed him to control and bend symbiotes to his will, in addition to repelling and resisting them if they wanted to bond to him and he didn't want to. This made him insanely powerful. However, during the King in Black event, he lost this power, which it turns out was attached to the God of Light when his father Eddie Brock destroyed Null, who was attempting to take hold of Dylan's body via the living abyss inside him. As it stands now, Dylan is bonded with the Venom symbiote, which grants him some power, but he is also still very new to this whole thing, meaning he's not particularly skilled or really powerful just yet, which is why I ranked him so low. So low, despite his cool powers he once had that were pretty unique. And friends, before we move on to this next spot, if you are loving this list and you want more Venom lists, you want to learn about more of the Venom family, be sure to let us know by giving this video a thumbs up. Number 8, Riot. Riot is also known as being one of the strongest symbiotes to have come from the ones Venom gave birth to while being kept prisoner by the Life Foundation. Riot is often suggested to be the strongest of the litter, at least the physically strongest. He is the most buff of the litter, and he has also been referred to as Mr. Riot, which is a name I honestly love a lot. Because of Riot's inherent super strength, the symbiote generally prefers to use its tendrils to create blunt force weapons, which it can then use in combat against its opponents or to brute strength force its way through any obstacles in its path. Riot Smash. Mr. Riot Smash. Number 7. Scream. Scream was maybe one of the most powerful of the forcibly birthed Life Foundation offspring of Venom, and I mean powerful just in the overall sense. I say was as well because technically Scream was destroyed by Andy Benton, its latest host. In fact, with Andy it was also at its most powerful, as Andy could also summon and wield Hellfire, which it would be immune to so long as Andy willed that. Unfortunately, in the end, the Scream symbiote and Andy ended up in a fight against one another where Andy was forced to defend herself using the very same Hellfire against Scream this time, as opposed to with Scream. This unfortunately kills the symbiote. While it was alive, Scream's powers were similar to the Venom symbiote, which included the added level up of creating wings for itself and using those wings to fly around, and the unique ability of turning its tendrils into hair that they could then manipulate at will, similar to Medusa of the Inhumans. Also, I just like hair powers, I think they're cool. Number 6. Hybrid. Hybrid is the combination of 4 of the Life Foundation symbiotes, all of which were forcibly created offspring of Venom. Hybrid is the entity that exists when Phage, Agony, Lasher, and Riot come together. Being a combined symbiote, Hybrid has all the powers of the individual symbiotes that make it up. Mostly this means it is powers similar to relatives such as Venom and Carnage, but it can also absorb chemicals, produce acid which it can use to attack with, balance the emotions of its host, and can remote control a smaller non-sentient host such as a dog, while still maintaining a bond with its main sentient host at the same time, which obviously that's a power that comes from Lasher. Number 5. Jerry Drew. Coming in with the Zappies, it's baby Jerry. Jerry is actually the son of Jessica Drew, aka Spider-Woman, not Spider-Man, but still, Jessica is considered to be a Spider-Man alternate, despite being one of the most separated characters from Spider-Man in terms of her origin. In fact, canonically, in the world of 616, you could even say that Spider-Man would be considered an alternate of her. While Spider-Man first appeared in the 60s in the comics, canonically, Jessica is older than Peter and would therefore have gotten powers kind of before him, although a main difference is that Jessica spent much of her childhood in a tube, removed from the world, and even after that was kind of like a secret agent of Hydra's for a time, before managing to escape her role working for them and becoming a hero and a PI. Jerry is her first and currently only son, and while he's still a little baby, he has already started to exhibit powers similar to Jessica, including his own baby-sized venom blasts, super strength and agility, and the ability to wall crawl. So a lot of potential for Jerry to follow in his mom's footsteps and possibly become even more skilled and powerful than she is. Number 4. May Parker. May Parker is of course another alternate reality version of Peter and MJ's daughter. As I said, the name May really does stick for them across the multiverse when it comes to their kids. This version of May comes from the Dark Ages reality, which isn't officially numbered yet, but does have a temporary number of Earth 891 for now. May in this reality is only a little kid when her powers first manifest. She has powers similar to her MC2 counterpart and of course similar to Peter's, including his famed spider sense. We get to watch May grow up somewhat in this reality, and she develops a close friendship with Danny Cage, the daughter of heroes Jessica Jones and Luke Cage. Although in that reality I believe Jessica is now she's Jessica Cage, because I mean they're married, but yeah. If I say Jessica Cage, I feel like people are gonna be like, who's Jessica Cage? Because we all know her as Jessica Jones still. Number 3. Venom. Venom is the daughter of Peter and Mary Jane, who hails from the reality of Earth X, aka Earth 9997. Eventually, May Parker ends up bonded to the Venom symbiote in this reality. Its origins are a little different, as it was created, like many other things in this reality, by the Celestials. They created symbiotes to protect the embryos that they had stored within planets. So yeah, a bit different. However, despite their origins not being quite the same, the Venom symbiote here still has similar powers and abilities, and even a similar appearance somewhat to their 616 counterpart. Although they tend to be more black and red, and the Venom Venom symbiote tends to be more white and black. In the Earth X reality, at some point after the death of May's mother, MJ, the Venom symbiote left Eddie Brock and bonded with May Parker, who also was trained by her uncle, Matt Murdock, aka Daredevil. Pretty cool stuff. Not only does she have her Venom symbiote and spider-like powers inherited from her dad, but she also has fighting skills passed down from DD, which is pretty cool. Number 2, Mayday. While little uni-powered baby May might have some of the greatest potential, when it comes to actual feats of strength and powers that we've seen on display, Mayday probably takes the cake, just because she is one of the kids we've seen the most of. She is the daughter of Peter Parker and his wife Mary Jane Watson Parker from the MC2 reality. May Parker grows up to inherit her dad's powers in this reality, meaning that she too can wall crawl, has the proportional strength of a spider, possesses spider sense, and is extremely agile. In fact, while it's believed that May isn't as strong as her dad, she is believed to be even more agile and dexterous than him. So when it comes to her sense of balance and nimbleness, she actually beats Peter in this one regard. Number 1, Spiderling. Spiderling is Anna May Parker, nicknamed Annie, who comes from the Renew Your Vows universe, which became so popular that it got its own spin-off series as well as its own piece of patchwork reality in God Emperor Doom's Battle World Tapestry that was showcased during Secret Wars. Confirmed! God Emperor Doom is a shipper of Peter and MJ and thinks that they should have stayed married. We've confirmed it. He's like, I'm here for Renew Your Vows. That can be in my battle world. Annie, like her father, develops spider-like powers and abilities. And while we've seen the most of Mayday and she is likely the most popular of the alternate reality kids, I'd even suggest that Annie is more powerful as she has a more specific version of spider sense that basically allows her to see what potential danger is actually setting it off, giving her a sort of future sense, if you will, making her kind of a precog. Aside from that, she has not just her dad to guide her in heroics, but her mom as well, as in this universe, Mary Jane has powers of her own, taking up the superhero name of Spinneret. Mary Jane in this reality even at one point bonds with the Venom symbiote. Pretty crazy, especially considering MJ616's history with Venom. Also, guess what? I'm pretty sure Anna May is actually, one of the kids is actually named after MJ's Aunt Anna. So this is both aunt names combined, which I think is fair because both Aunt Anna and Aunt May are cool people.